This is HBR News number 391. Susan Wojcicki resigns, Don Lemon is in hot water, and 6-year-old shoots his teacher, where we reflect on the stories of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Happy President's Day, I guess, belated. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you're not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by, as always, my austere patriarchs and our handmaiden, Hannah and Dr. Ranmerkham. Mike J is still helping his family. We might see him next week or the week after. Be on the lookout. So they're moving, and it's a big job. So we have a great show lineup for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News show, we're going to be talking about Susan Wojcicki. I'm not really sure if I pronounced that right.
Wojcicki Slim Shady.
Yeah. Don Lemon makes the fatal mistake of making a comment or joke about women, which you cannot do. A 6-year-old shoots his teacher, and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time with just a little bit of rage sprinkled on top. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So this article, I've been looking at it for a while. I've been wanting to do a after show on this. This is from CNN. Wait, where's the story? Yeah, here we go. No, this is from Daily Mail. I apologize. It's not from CNN. This is from the Daily Mail, and what it is wife devastated after her husband refuses to forgive her for farting in front of him once after 9 years together. He won't let me forget it. I haven't read the article. It sounds really dumb, but it also sounds like a good patron show topic. So
how do you get such a slow news day in this month of all months? This month has been packed with absolute fucking tragedy, and then
it has
something that would be the back page of a local newspaper.
Yeah, normally. Well, for me, because I have to pick stories that are we having a problem with the internet? No. For the after show, I try to pick stories that are funny or weird or cringe, and not necessarily something serious. And basically, everything in the news right now is really super serious. So yeah. It's kind of hard to find something that, in fact, it's probably like, kind of like not cool to do a story like this about farts. But I think it's, that's basically my criteria, is that it should be.
It's just unusual to see it on the Daily Mail. I thought they talked about serious shit.
It depends. They have a whole section called Female, Femail, and I know that we're probably supposed to take it seriously, but most of the time I can't. Like, a lot of it's about stuff like who's wearing what and whether or not the writer thinks she looks good in it.
Paparazzi photos, yeah.
But I look through there when I'm looking for ridiculous feminist articles, because every so often they have one of those, stupid things like not putting the lid back on the sugar bowl is misogyny, or some such stupid thing like that. Like I probably could write an article about that specific topic. That it's misogyny to not put the lid back on the sugar bowl after you put your sugar in your tea, if you put sugar in tea, and even putting sugar in your tea is misogynistic, and they would probably publish it if I had a good name to go with it. Like, absolutely. How about "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, absolutely.
They probably would.
Mm-hmm. There's always a way to continue the grift, and but yeah. So all right. So that's our after show topic, or patron show topic. If you want to join us on the patron show, you have to become a badger yourself. by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. And that will get you access to the Discord, where you can basically like hang out with other patrons and help grow the community, right? And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find yourself unable to find our content because YouTube finally dropped the axe on our channels, go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com, or I recently was told honeybadgerradio.com, because we don't have enough websites. And yeah, check us out on those places as well. All right. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into today's stories. Let me hold on a second. I don't have as much real estate as I used to have on my screen, because one of my screens, like, it doesn't turn on. I mean, it turns on, but it's not lit up. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I have less screen space. All right, so first story, Susan Wojcicki resigns after 24 years at Google. Susan Wojcicki has been the CEO of YouTube for 9 years and has been at Google as a whole for 24 years. She announced last week that she'll be stepping down from Google and YouTube to, quote, focus on her personal life and pursue new projects, end quote. Chief Producer Officer Neil Mohan will take over for Wojcicki. Wojcicki oversaw controversial policies on YouTube that censored numerous creators, as well as overseeing YouTube Kids, another controversial project that has at some points taught young children about gender theory and gender ideology. Mohan won't be a reversal of these policies and will likely lead to doubling down on them. Mohan has been a vocal supporter of YouTube's censorious policies, from supporting banning people for, quote, COVID misinformation, end quote, to saying that creators producing, quote, content in their basement, end quote, can't, quote, provide context on news, end quote.
It's called YouTube, dickhead. That means it's by, the average Joe, for the average Joe. That's the reason Time Magazine's Person of the Year was, quote unquote, you, that one year. If you're that pissed off about having regular people on the site, then go ahead and rename it to same old bullshit you see on the TV tube. And what is it with these people in basements? You're all a basement phobic. I don't have a basement, and neither does my mother. I think we're doing everything on our phones, and we can't get enough signal from underground, and that's why our channels suck. Mate, ask your IT guy how fucking Wi-Fi works. I would have thought you'd all be IT guys in tech, but whatever. In any case, I've made almost all my videos from the second floor of a building. Neil, can you go ahead and unthrottle me, please? Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, no, nothing's going to change. We've gone from one CEO who hates their user base to another CEO who hates their user base. The only difference is the last one mostly whined about gender, and this one's probably going to whine about race. Have you seen how many big tech CEOs are Indian guys at this point?
Yeah.
It's loads of, I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of Indian dudes out there in general, and a lot of them are in IT. I'm just saying, where's the representation?
They're coming up.
Shouldn't it be 50% white people? No, just realized we're not the global majority. What an unexpected inversion. Anyway.
Yeah. Hannah,
it's quite an interesting story. Except I kind of wonder what she did. 6 years away from like what's normal for retirement in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some people are retiring early at like 25 years. I wonder why she resigned instead of saying she was retiring. It's an interesting.
That's true.
Yeah. Did she resign from the whole company, or did she just step down? No, she's stepping down from both, right?
Yeah.
So
she's leaving Google. So
in our chat, Albert Nader Retro just said, "Did you hear about the guy who got fired from Google because he turned down his boss's advances?" And I hadn't heard that story.
No.
But now I'm kind of like,
is that a new story though, or is that an old story? Because
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just all, the juxtaposition there. So like I get asked about that, and then we have this story going, and I don't know if it was her, but like it's really weird that all of a sudden she's resigned for no obvious reason, and that just kind of blows my mind. The other thing I have to point out about the story is obviously the elitism. Like, people act as though journalists are something special, right? When you go to school for journalism, you're not taught any kind of secret means of doing news coverage or research or learning about things or talking about things that makes you better or smarter or any more special
more qualified.
right, more qualified to understand the news. You're not an expert in news. You don't become an expert in what's true and what's not true, what's right and what's not right. That's all bullshit. Like, you learn things like if you're okay, so Albert Nader Retro says the boss who hit on the employee was an Asian woman, so I don't think that's her. But yeah, there's apparently a government investigation, according to Richard, and many tech CEOs are getting out while they can. Well, I can't blame them for that. They've been doing some pretty shady stuff, but I don't think that'll protect her. If the Republicans actually start doing an investigation into big tech suppressing information and stuff that contributed to elections, they may end up in trouble, whether they're still involved or not. But yeah, journalists are not special. It's not like becoming a doctor or a lawyer where if you haven't learned the stuff that they teach you at university, you can fuck up somebody's life forever or mess up in court or anything like that. No, you just are learning things like, the average person doesn't remember the beginning of a 20-word sentence by the end of a 20-word sentence if they are sitting at the breakfast table with their morning coffee, half awake, reading it in a newspaper. Like, that's the kind of thing that, you get taught in journalism.
Yeah.
And you get taught that how to pad your story if you have to write 500 words, and how to not pad your story if you have to write 250 words and stuff like that. You get taught about his history of journalism, but you don't get taught any special secrets. So this idea about creating content in your basement, being unable to provide context in the news, and yeah, Night Motorcyclist says, you learned that in high school English. Guess what? Most have degrees in journalism. And in fact, a lot of the people I worked with were English majors.
Yeah, I was going to say it's English that you get your degree in.
I was doing journalism at 15 years old while I was still in high school. I didn't have a degree in jack or shit. So
yeah,
and I was good at it, right? You just need to be able to report who, what, where, and when, and if the information is available for you to glean it, how and why. And the biggest problem is today's media does a lot of editorializing, especially when it comes to like the why and how other people should think about all of that. And so there's no like this providing context. When you can't provide context on news, bullshit. You can provide context, and this kind of elitism is part of the reason why people were so willing to accept like this nationwide, worldwide, two-way elitism. The elitists will tell you you're not good enough to make your own decisions and understand your own context for the news, and your neighbors will agree with that. Oh, we are just not smart enough to make up our own minds. Tell us what to think, oh mighty ones. And then you end up with much wider spread lockdowns than are necessary. You end up with all kinds of other things that are coming out now, and like look up a channel if you want to understand what's going on in healthcare right now with regard to the healthcare advice and information we've been given over the last 3 years. Look up a channel, Dr. John Campbell. And you can go through and watch his old stuff, and you can kind of watch as he started out having some faith in his profession, the higher ups in his profession and the authorities and everything, to at this point he is completely and utterly crushed by the information that has come out. He doesn't make any proclamations, any grand, you shouldn't do this, you must do that, this is bad, that's good. He just gives the information. He just gives the research, and explains what the research says.
Yeah.
And it's not like they can say he's making content from his basement, because he is actually a doctor. He's a physician, and he used to do things like how the heart works, and here's how the heart and the lungs work together, and whole video on that and stuff like that, and until the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this pisses me off. The idea that Joe Schmo can't make up his own mind about the news and talk about it, and other people can't talk to him about it, and you can't make comments on a video arguing and back and forth and all that to provide context for what's going on in the news. Kiss my ass.
Yeah.
I will provide context, and if you don't like it, then you can argue with it. That's what YouTube has always been for. That and entertaining videos on with comedy and all kinds of other neat little things.
Cats.
And it's really cats. Yeah, well, the internet is made of cats. We all know that. But yeah, like the idea that it's got to be something else now because you guys, up in the higher ups don't approve of the plebs having thoughts. Like, then you can just fuck right the hell off with that.
I don't think it's about trying to sound authoritative in saying that, people in their basement can't provide context on news. I think it's just about control, purely. Like, they know that the people making videos on YouTube about events, current events, a lot of them, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's a majority, but a lot of them have a point. A lot of them are saying something true. A lot of them are a threat to the way that YouTube and other big tech controls information. And that's the thing that I think they're saying these sort of dismissive, childish comments that suggest insults or whatever, but the reality is that they know that a lot of the people that make content are saying something profound, significant, whatever, and they don't like it because it's not something they can control. So
and the little guys can't be bought off. I mean, they can if there was only one of them, you could buy them off with 2 bob and a pickled egg, but there's too many of them to buy off. You can buy off CNN and fucking Stephen Colbert and all these, because there's only a handful of them, and in the assumption that most of the audience is going to them. And I guess maybe they are, because you're promoting all their content on the front page, and there's millions of little guys out there, and they can't all be bought off, and a lot of them won't, even for any price. That's your problem, Neil.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say, it's just a feeling I have, or a thought I was carrying around. I don't think we've seen the last of Susan Wojcicki. I think that she says she wants to pursue new projects. So, be on the lookout. She might show up working for, the World Economic Forum or something, because they're all in bed with each other. And while, she's likely a millionaire, she might have left YouTube and Google to pursue something, a little bit higher up on the ladder. So my guess, maybe, is that she will be back in some fashion. So remember her name and be on the lookout. That's all I'll say.
That's kind of a
she's-
hard to forget name.
Yeah, I know.
As hard as it is to pronounce, but yeah, counterpoint. Maybe she's stepping down because something's afoot. Like they've seen what's happened with the Twitter files, and they're like,
Yeah, it could be
what if
that.
that happens with YouTube? I'm going to retire now. See ya. Bye.
Yeah, that it could be that too. All right. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. Do you agree with what we're saying? Do you disagree? I want to hear your comments in the comment section after the show. And with that said, we're gonna move on to the next story. Oh, I love this one. So, CNN anchor Don Lemon has been in some hot water since last Thursday's morning show when he made comments over former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley's presidential candidacy. Lemon was reacting to Haley's call for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75 when he declared that Haley herself isn't in her prime. Despite immediate pushback from the offended female co-anchors, Lemon doubled down, saying that a woman is only, quote, considered to be in her prime in her 20s, 30s, and 40s, and to Google it. Lemon was apologizing the next day in an editorial meeting. Chris Licht, the network's chief executive, described Lemon's comments as unacceptable and said they were unfair to his co-hosts, even though he didn't really say it about them specifically, but this is where we're going with this now. From CNN, Lemon thanked Licht for the opportunity to directly address staffers and said that he wanted to be really clear about his regret for making these comments. I believe that women of any age can do whatever they set their minds to, Lemon said. The people I am closest to in this organization are women, Lemon added, citing his relationships with various hosts and executives. The people I seek counsel from most in this organization are women. Lemon has not appeared on the network since the Thursday show, but Licht announced his return is planned for tomorrow, so he's supposed to come back to the show tomorrow. After Lemon agreed to participate in formal training, as well as continuing to listen and learn. According to the Washington Examiner, this was not enough for some female staffers. They report some have given the network an ultimatum, saying they will leave if Don Lemon is not fired.
Jeez.
People are hurt by his actions and are not going to let this go, a CNN insider told the Daily Mail. It's like every woman over 50 in America has taken this as a personal insult, not even over 50.
Pay for yourself, lady.
Yeah, no, but I think what she's saying is that every woman in America got offended if they were over 50, but I don't even think they needed to be over 50. They could be in their 40s and feel offended by that. They could be younger and feel offended because
women don't need a reason to feel offended.
Yeah.
Whoever said women needed a reason to feel offended? If you think that, you don't understand women.
Yeah, exactly. So the female staffers at CNN definitely have. He needs to make his vacation a permanent one, is what they said. A CNN insider noted that, quote, there is not one person at CNN who thinks that he should remain on the air. He knows how, so like the whole network is against him. He knows how badly he screwed up, and he also knows that he cannot talk his way out of this one. His apology meant nothing. Now, before we get into the commentary, I do want to play the clip of the horrible thing that he did, so that we have like a little bit more context, and you guys can see like how absolutely ridiculous this whole thing is. All right, so this is from Megyn Kelly's show, but I'm just, I just needed to find the clip, and it was on short notice, so pardon me. Let me just make sure it looks okay on OBS. Yeah, that's fine. All right, here we go. I'm going to play the clip.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like
Look at her face.
Oh my god.
She is so. What do you mean?
The eyelids go completely flat, straight.
Yeah.
Like,
when a woman says, "What did you mean by that?"
you
know you're in trouble. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, but if they say, "What do you mean by that?" You're in trouble. You're done. You may as well get your pink slip yourself.
It's like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
We need to qualify. Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about?
Well, he is wrong. That is not the prime for being a politician. That is the prime for your sexual prime, your reproductive health, right? 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yep.
But he wanted to add to the conversation. Yeah, he wanted to add to the conversation and take a jab at Nikki Haley while he was at it, and that was his move, and it was a bad move because he has two female co-hosts that are basically ready to get upset about anything. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll play a little bit.
This is great.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit more of this.
The messenger, I'm just saying what the facts are. Google it, everybody at home. When is a woman in her prime? It says 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I'm just saying Nikki Haley should be careful about saying that politicians are not in their prime and they need to be in their prime when they serve, because she wouldn't be in her prime according to Google or whatever it is.
All right.
I like that the tone of voice. Google. Yeah, like
Google.
You just said it, but I honestly, like, that comment really wasn't that bad.
No.
And it's funny. What's really funny about it is like they were just talking about politicians not being in their prime in regard to male politicians, right? So you can say that kind of stuff about male politicians, even though we have had elderly presidents, over and over again throughout the history of the country, and this kind of stuff was said about Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
And he was portrayed
in his second term.
In his second term, and he was portrayed as like this senile old man with Alzheimer's who was accidentally gonna roll over in bed one night and set off the nuclear bombs, as if you could just push a button and set them off. Like everybody always talked about the button. There is no the button. But yeah, like that was okay. We were allowed to do that. Everybody was allowed to do, and you couldn't complain about it. And it wasn't sexist because, nothing you do to men is sexist, right? Like you ask these people, and it's only sexist if women are offended, right? And the whole discussion about Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, that none of that's new. We've had that with senators. We've had that with congressmen. We've had that with other presidents. Governors have been criticized for being too old, but usually if they're men, we don't hear it about women. And I think part of it is, women retire. But yeah, all of a sudden, and I know he said it about a woman of a younger age than the men we're talking about, but it's still, it still would have been considered sexist if he had said it about a woman in her 80s, right? And so the idea that it's suddenly sexist because you're talking about a woman is bullshit. But it's just one comment, and this guy's whole career is killed because
I don't know if he's fired.
He doesn't this whole career, they're trying to kill his whole career.
Yes, they
because
are.
He doesn't like old women. Like that, really?
Yeah.
But women are totally equal to men, guys. We're not. Our sensibilities are not fragile. We can handle tough talk. We can handle tough careers like journalism, where you have to deal with emotional topics and stuff. Totally equal to men. Unless you call us old, and then all of a sudden we all break down and start crying and have somebody fired or try to have somebody fired and all that jazz, because equality and stuff or something.
And
yeah.
It's worth pointing out. This man has lied every day of his professional life. He's made a career from flagrantly lying his ass off to the whole world with a straight face and a blank slate of a conscience. Usually he's just telling the lies he's been ordered to tell, but sometimes he does it all by himself and effortlessly. I don't think he could breathe without lying. He might be the most prolific, pathological liar on television, and that is saying something. And why did he get fired? For telling the truth.
Yes.
Accidentally telling an irrelevant truth in a context where it didn't belong, but it is kind of true. So the mask slipped for a second, and he forgot what CNN is all about. We don't do that here, Don. We're only here to say positive things about the Democrat Party, and that gives us exactly zero wiggle room for telling the truth. But I was only defending Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden, Don. Fuck him. He's only here as a placeholder for the inevitable 10 years of Kamala Harris we're about to get. You know this. We've been planning it for years, and we can't have you swanning around saying anything about women that makes them out to be anything but flawless, ethereal fucking goddesses. Now get back in there and simp like you've never simped before, or we'll send you to a simp re-education.
Oops.
Nobody cares, dickhead. Not when there are women involved. Even white women, even rich white women, even rich, influential, powerful white women, they are all more important than you, Don Lemon. Oh, yeah. I wonder if he's going to return all new and improved as of tomorrow. Gentlemen, your host, Donna Lemonade. He's going to come out in a crotchless ball gown and a furry mask.
He's supposed to be on tomorrow.
Wait, all gowns are crotchless.
They'll probably say something about it.
They sent him to re-education camp for this, guys. I mean, like, you call women old, you go to re-education camp. Like, how bad is that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I think
it's not funny.
He had to go into some kind of sensitivity training thing as like a condition to come back on the show for saying that. Saying like what he Googled.
This is what we need, right? Since we're anti-woke, we need insensitivity training.
Yeah, right?
Like there needs to be a whole ass like camp for that, like insensitivity training, where people say controversial things and then somebody comes out and says, that hurts my feelings. And somebody else can say, well, get the fuck over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's it. You're done. Get out.
So I got one last thing to say about this that I think is really important. Obviously, the CNN, because they're like crazy woke, they knew that regardless of what they actually believed about Don Lemon's comment, they could not take the side of, oh, come on, he's just joking, because then they're going to get cast in with him. So that's why they said that no one at CNN, wants him to be able to come back to work. Like, that's what they're saying, right? But he's still coming back. But more than that, because that's obviously ridiculous. Like, in no way could that comment have been sexist or misogynistic. Like, it just isn't a thing. But they believe it was, and not only them, but a number of conservative commentators that have been responding to this story have said that what he said was sexist. And they're not being funny. They actually believe it. You can look at Ben Shapiro has said it. He's like, it's the most sexist thing I've ever heard, And a number of other people. And I know what they're heard. Yeah, it's the it's the most sexist thing he ever heard, or like that he's ever had spoken live or whatever. And a number of others, have, and I get why. Like, I know what I think they might be trying to do is to like use this, to make the left look bad. But frankly, I just it just makes them look stupid. Like, there's nothing about that is sexist. I'm sorry. And we have to stop pandering to women and like worrying about their feelings. Like, if you said this about a man, like a male politician, no one would care. It would be, in one year and out the other. Nobody would give a shit. But because it's a woman, you can't even say, yeah, women, they have a prime time of their life where, they have a prime, and it's in this specific age window, which is, it's just obvious, right? Like, obvious. And men have a prime area too. Like, they have their own window. But to acknowledge that women have that, it drives these bitches crazy. And and then of course everyone comes running out to run cover for them, like to essentially say, "Oh, you got your fifis hurt. Let me help you with that, whatever it is." And the men that do that, it's got nothing to do with politics. It's just gynocentrism, because they can't resist. So, just saying, plenty of conservative commentators have also sided against Don Lemon, and I think that was stupid. I think that, you're a moron. Like, if you don't understand that simply talking about when a woman is in her prime is not an insult and can't be, you're an idiot. So, those are my additional thoughts on that.
The problem is, everybody in politics is gynocentric. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to find pretty much every facet of the political spectrum. You're going to find gynocentrism because it permeates all of society. And you really have to, even when you wake up from it, you still find yourself having gynocentric attitudes and stuff, that you start sorting stuff out and you realize, actually, I've always believed XYZ, but there's no reason except gynocentrism. And it takes a while to sort that out. And most people don't have the capacity to do that without a huge amount of insecurity and cognitive dissonance, and people will get very upset trying to go through and figure that out. So you end up with a situation where people will not confront any kind of challenge to their gynocentrism. So you can't say anything that even remotely sounds like it might possibly be connected to an insult to women, just by association with other insults to women, and you can insult the fuck out of men. You can lie about men, and they're not supposed to get offended. Like,
of course,
Pocahontas falsely accused Bernie Sanders of saying, after years of him being publicly gynocentric and publicly supporting female politicians left and right, she falsely accused him of claiming that women couldn't be president. And people believed it just because he was a man, just because he's male, right? And even after video came out of him saying in his youth that women can be president, and he was excited about the possibility of how this advancement, yes, women can be president, right? But he still was accused, he still was presumed sexist against her because he's male, right? That's not the most sexist thing that you've ever heard, that Bernie Sanders can't think for himself because he's a man. He has to have said or believed what is attributed to him by a woman. That's not sexist, but it's sexist that women might be past their prime in their 50s,
or that women eventually all hit that age, and it will probably mean that they're not in their prime anymore. Like, it's not even intended as an insult. It's just an observation, right, of reality.
Yeah. One of the things that people don't think about is that it becomes a lot of work if you really decide you're going to give a shit about your looks. It becomes a lot of work from about 45 on to maintain them. And for most women. And it's like it's not just like women that wear makeup have it easier. I mean, they're spending a lot of money and they're spending a lot of time, but it's if you have to look neotenous to be pretty, and it's especially hard if you haven't looked all that neotenous most of your life. Like I've always had a stronger jaw than a lot of the gals around me. I'm not like the pointy chin little cutie pie type, right?
Yeah.
I think it used to be the description that used to be used to try to call women without pointy chins pretty was she has a broad face or something like that, which is funny because all women have broad faces. But I've never But I mean, if you look at me now, I'm starting to look kind of old, right? Which I've kind of noted it, and it's like I'm filling the role of grandma as I sink into it, which is kind of what I wanted to do, not necessarily wanting to look old or not look old or anything, but like this is if somebody turned to me and said, well, you're past your prime in your looks, I would be like, okay, and the sky is blue and the grass is green and there's a parking lot outside of my apartment.
Yeah.
We gonna state any other obvious facts? Like, but most women get really heated about that, and it's really, it's and really there's a parking lot out crippling. I think to them, they can't. Those women they turned off. Like their whole brain just turned off at that moment when he said that statement. They could not even, right? In fact, they so could not even that there wouldn't have been a finish for that sentence. And Albert Nader Retro points out, J-Lo can say men under 33 are useless. And men are supposed to just take that, right? And we can say old men are creepy, or old men are this, or men are that. Old men are senile. Old men are all kinds of things. Old men are liars, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's allowed to criticize women for saying that.
Yeah.
Even other women. And we can say that, men in their 20s are immature and women should date older men because older men are more mature, but they're predatory for wanting to date younger women. But we can't say women are past their prime. Fuck off.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys think about this story in the comments. I know that a lot of people have been talking about the Don Lemon thing, but maybe you have a take that most of them don't consider. I think it's my criticism of the conservative perspective that I've seen. I think that's really shitty, and it's really
check and mate, sucker. I'm here.
He only has to do it at work.
He
only has to do it at work. He doesn't even have to do it at home. As long as he's doing it at work, that's all that matters.
Yep. All right, so I got some super chows. So I'm going to read through those, and then I have a Rumble rant. So first, Egregious Charles gives us $10 and just says support. This is from yesterday. So thanks. I'm sorry that I didn't get to it or see it. Meredith G gives us $5 and says maintaining frame 37. So that's the show we did yesterday. Notice how these women often pick on men to shame who aren't the most physically fit or handsome. This setup is meant to make the influencers who post these videos able to claim to be victims when they aren't. All of this is done without thought to the consequence for the men that they shame, which I agree with that.
That so fits the topic we just talked about, too.
Yeah, we were just...
Because you can do that to men, right? You can call a guy fat and ugly. You can call a guy old looking when he isn't old. You can, like... The jokes about men's physical appearance that come out, and men will make fun of themselves too. There are guys that do whole comedy routines about being fat and unattractive. Women, yes. It's a rarity.
Yes. All right. Nova Fan gives us $1 and says This is from Rumble, and I copy pasted it in here. And feminists complain that women supposedly were forced to stay at home. At this point, it's the only way for them to be safe because they haven't proven a way for men and women to be equal. Thank you for that. Meredith G today gives us $5 and says HBR News 391. I dislike Don Lemon intensely, but the trouble that he is in has nothing to do with his sexism, in quotes, but because he's on a shit list. It was only a matter of time before he got in. It's all BS. So yeah, I was thinking that James O'Keefe, but I didn't make that one of our stories.
So to understand the work environment in journalistic outlets, you have to realize journalists are like G-list celebs. Like they're probably to the degree now that they're below big YouTubers, right? They're way out there, but they're desperate for attention. They always want to be the one that gets the big story or the big headline or is the most popular. So it is a popularity contest. So the work environment, the social environment within that profession, like it's like those aliens in I can never think of the title of it. The stupid parody movie of Star Trek where Sigourney Weaver talks about her boobs fitting into
like,
her outfit.
Yeah, it's like something Quest.
Yeah, and the aliens, the scene where they're watching the aliens
Galaxy
and the hurt
Quest.
one walks up to Galaxy Quest. Yeah, the scene where the alien walks up to the food that they're or whatever, and they all part and they all let it pass, and everybody's like, "Oh, isn't that sweet? They're gonna let him. They're gonna take care of him," and then they all pounce on him and eat him.
Yeah,
that's journalist.
I remember that.
That is the absolute environment in journalism right there.
Yeah.
Those are journalists.
Yeah, I got it. All right, let me read the last super chat. Michael Emmerich Winberg gives us $5 and says, "Did Lemon just say that Haley doesn't have the stamina? Jokes aside, he was ultimately just trying to throw anything he could consider an insult, yes, and eventually threw what we may call the wrong punch. To quote Derry Bogard, sorry." Yeah, that's what I think. I think that he really just wanted to get in on the let's all shit on, Nikki, is it Nikki Haley? Let's all shit on Nikki Haley because she's a Republican, and I'm going to say this because she's a Republican woman, to like, I don't know, just to hurt her, or I'll get a laugh out of these other ladies, and the other ladies were not having it because the woman, the sisterhood is stronger than politics. So you've learned, you fucked around, and then you found out. I'm going to move on to the next story. So let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. And let me just get back into the live show. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Meanwhile, I'm just going to move on. So, all right. Sarah Cheek, pictured here, from Florida, says her son was suspended from school because of her OnlyFans account. The 31-year-old mother, who makes $480,000 annually on OnlyFans, said she was, quote, humiliated by the school's treatment of her. So that's the student is a girl, okay? Oh no, I'm sorry. The woman is a woman. The son is a boy. My son was even suspended from school, and in trying to communicate with the principal, she refused to talk to me or give me a reason as to why he was being treated badly, simply because I do OnlyFans, Sarah said. Before the suspension of her son, she says she was banned from her kids' football organization and unable to take them to practice, attend games, or communicate with coaches. Quote, they erased me from my kids' lives and humiliated me for what I did in private by exposing that secret, she said. So it's a short story, but
So half $1,000,000 a year, is that right?
that's what 480,000.
That's
Yep.
mental. That is mental.
Dang.
I mean, I knew there was a pretty penny to be made on OnlyFans, but $500,000 a year, dude. I know it sucks that you got ostracized, and it really sucks if your son's getting ostracized on top of the run-of-the-mill humiliation of your mum being an e-thought. But seriously, $500,000 a year. You can put him in any private school you like. You can afford to live anywhere in the country. You can afford a legion of private tutors to teach him everything he needs to know in the penthouse suite of a 5-star hotel, while hand feeding him caviar and champagne or whatever the kid equivalent is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I say, it sucks for your son. He's gonna have trouble making friends, and you can't buy friends. Right? He's gonna have trouble making friends who don't constantly mock him because his mum's a whore. But I would imagine $500,000 a year is a pretty good trade-off if you consider spending some of it on him.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Maybe get him an education.
Yeah, I might suggest spending it on moving somewhere where people are welcoming of e-thoughts, like California. But I can't in all good conscience recommend anyone moves to California. Probably not going to be good for your son's mental health in general. Maybe the reason Florida is a good place to raise children is because of the very morals they have in place that rub up against your thought lifestyle there.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the catch-22, I suppose. Maybe don't be a thought. Maybe retire. You're a fucking millionaire. Might as well.
Yeah.
Pressing exit out. I just like this is supposedly taking place in a U.S. school, an American school, and supposedly this woman's kid got kicked out because
the kid got suspended. So I
suspended.
guess.
Well, getting suspended is getting kicked out of school, for a little while at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because his mom's too sexy for school. I just no. I don't. I'm gonna have to see more information on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand there's a lawsuit. But oh no, there's another mom who sued authorities for being banned from volunteering. But I really am skeptical of this because this isn't the kind of thing that usually would happen in a public school system. They don't give a fuck what you do for a living as long as you pay your school fees, your kid attends, and you don't go into the school and raise a ruckus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're not going to suspend your child because of your job. And I'll bet there was a behavioral issue or some other such thing. The kid wasn't attending properly or something else that was going on. The other kid might have beat the hell out of me, but I wouldn't have cared. That would have been it. But you just don't know. Like whatever is going on with this, there is information that is not being reported. I can guarantee you that. This story sounds very, very manufactured. And I just sincerely doubt that this is the situation. That what we've been told is the situation. There is something going on here. I mean, they're teaching kids how to their parents are having to fight to have explicit material removed from the school library at elementary schools where kindergartners can see it. Mm-hmm. I don't think the school is going to suspend a kid because of his mother's OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's entirely plausible. I guess would be interested to see if we learn anything else or what about this, but in the meantime, we're gonna move on to the last story. So I did get 5 in this week, and let us know what you guys think about that in the comments. Do you think it's fake? Do you think it's entirely plausible? I know that it sounds like she makes a lot of money, but other e-thoughts like Amaranth, for example, I learned the other day she makes like $1.5 million a month with her OnlyFans. So I think that, you know, if you have enough simps, you can make a lot of money, a lot. And I don't think that they'll share this information, you know, how much they make, but yeah, I'm not surprised that she makes that much. I think that was like a year.
Oh yeah, I believe that part.
300,000, 480,000. Yeah, a year.
I believe that part. I just don't believe the kid got suspended for it.
Yeah, I know. I gotcha. Okay. So anyways, we're going to move on to the next story. This is actually, I probably should have made this first cuz it's the most tragic. But it just sort of ended up here, so all right. So a 6-year-old student came into a school and shot his teacher in the chest with a gun. So a 6-year-old student acquired a gun and went over to the school and shot his teacher in the chest. 6 years old. 6 years old. According to this report from CNN, the teacher who was shot in class by her 6-year-old student last month in Virginia, not my part of Virginia, it's like by it's on the other side, claims that the student had a history of violence and accused the school of not acting despite being told repeatedly the student had a gun at school. In an intent to file lawsuit letter, the lawyer for Abigail Zwerner, that's the teacher that was shot, alleges that 4 teachers and a guidance counselor all warned the school's assistant principal, Ebony Parker, about the shooter's behavior that day. So they saw the kid walking through the halls with a gun, and they didn't do anything except, contact the principal, which is probably a good idea. Zwerner was shot through her hand into her chest, where the bullet remains lodged. So, got a bullet in her chest. The student also had a history of concerning behavior which Zwerner was unaware of, including allegedly being removed from the school a year prior after he, quote, choked his teacher until she couldn't breathe, end quote, 6-year-old. He was also given a modified schedule in 2022 after constantly cursing at staff and, quote, one day took off his belt on the playground and chased kids while trying to whip them, end quote. As cited by ABC News, the shooter had been suspended the day before the shooting because he slammed Mrs. Zwerner's phone, breaking it, and cursed at the guidance counselors. Zwerner also told Parker the student was in a violent mood and had threatened to beat up a kindergartner on the day of the shooting. Parker resigned from her position on January 25th. In the aftermath of the shooting, the district said it will install metal detectors at every school. Rich Neck Elementary School reopened to students on January 30th.
Metal detectors. Because there's definitely no indication whatsoever that this child is abused or has a mental health condition or otherwise needs assistance from, say, the healthcare profession. But metal detectors will totally solve that problem, especially given the fact that he used his hands without a weapon violently, and he took off his belt. Well, of course, metal detectors will at least detect your belt buckle, so they'll know if he brings another belt to school. But geez, and I know that this is not necessarily a problem just with the school, because this when I was
for the record,
this is not new.
For the record, this boy does not know his father.
Yeah, that explains some things.
Shocking, I know, it's a revelation.
This is not new. Yeah. So when I was a kid, when I was in elementary school, there was a boy in my class who acted out in real odd and bizarre ways, and sometimes answered things that people didn't say, and would get out of his seat and move away from nothing, and just he had a bunch of different things that happened, and his behavior was really bad, and he would get in trouble all the time, and he didn't do any of his classwork, all kinds of, but his mother would not accept that he could be held back a year in class. Like the school, she literally wouldn't sign off on the school, and she threatened to sue. So they would pass him on to the next class. Like he had done everything. So he got into the 5th grade and was reading at like a 1st grade level, and really difficult student to deal with. Had some legal trouble with my family and everything. And one day my grandpa and my mom and I were out walking the towpath beside the Miami Erie Canal. And I grew up in a town that was like right on the canal. And we heard a dog, and Mom talked to them. She didn't just like go off the deep end. She talked to them and found out that the one boy's stepfather had ordered the boy to kill the dog, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And so, the police were called. Mom and Grandpa called the police, and then Mom went to court on behalf of the boys. And in going to court on behalf of the boys, she talked about, this is not normal childhood behavior. They need help. And we were in junior high at that point. So it was at the age of 13 that the one boy actually got a foster family to take care of him, and the other boy got diagnosed with schizophrenia. He had early onset schizophrenia, and he had suffered through several years of elementary school with visual and auditory hallucinations and an inability to fully understand what people were saying. Like people's speech would be garbled.
Yeah.
And an inability to fully understand the rules that applied to him, and had just been foisted off on the next person by every adult in his life. And that was the result, that it made perfect sense to him for this crazy ass adult to say, "Oh, go kill this dog." And oh, okay, I'm going to go kill this dog. Like that was it.
Yeah.
This kid, this 6-year-old, no 6-year-old behaves this way.
Nope.
Without something like that in his life, without a parent that is abusive, without a mental health condition that screws his perceptions up to the degree that he feels attacked all the time, or he feels like he's in an alien environment all the time, or without being lacking something vital in his life that normally would prevent a child from behaving this way. And that's like, this child doing this might in the 80s or 90s have gotten him some help. But now he's probably going to be sent to juvenile detention, where he will get picked up by a gang, and they will teach him how to be a gang member. And for the rest of his life, he will be in the criminal justice system. That is what will happen to this child, because we now have zero tolerance policies, and we now have a complete and utter disdain for kids with mental health issues and abuse in the home, and anything else that might cause this kind of behavior. Because he's a boy, he'll be the bad guy. He won't be the the person with an issue that needs help in this situation. He'll just be the monster that they're going to lock up and get rid of. And people will be shocked when in his 20s or 30s he commits some sort of violent crime and kills people. That's the trajectory
Just hold on a second.
Hold on, guys. All
it's because
right.
your internet doesn't like
we're
sound
back.
from Dayton.
We're back.
That's just...
That's the load? Not that much. 22%. So I think we're good. I'll look later. I don't think that's the issue. I kind of tried that, but I don't know what CPU load it means.
Well, they're saying in the chat that it specifically happens when I talk.
Yeah, well, this is the thing that I've noticed. So I'm connected to the internet for sure, okay? So, like, because I don't have any drops when I'm talking to you and I hear your voice, you know, no issues there. Everything is running. But the only thing that is not being consistent is the kilobytes per second reader in OBS. And I don't know if it's a setting that I have to change. I don't know I don't think it's my internet. So, you know, but I have noticed that it will dip when you talk and it'll dip a lot when Allison talks. So I'm not saying I know why that is, but like right now I'm talking and there's no issue.
Probably because at any given moment the most likely person to be talking is Hannah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, I drop in and out. Yes, I know. I gotta fix it. I just don't know how.
Well, you know, it actually happens when I'm streaming and somebody other than me talks. Like my guests, especially Canadians. Like for some reason, OBS doesn't like it when I get.
So are you also
audio through Discord from Canadian land?
Yeah. So are you also seeing dips in your kilobytes per second?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm usually staring at that number whenever someone else is talking. But yeah, like right now it's stable, you know. So I don't like that. If it was my internet connection, I don't think, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, that would explain why it's so random. Like it'll go from 1,680 kilobytes per second to 10, and then it'll go to 0, and then after a little while it'll shoot back up to like 3,000. It doesn't make any sense. Like, so anyway, we're gonna that was basically. Does anybody else have any thoughts on the 6-year-old? All I know is he doesn't know his father. He never had him. How did he access a gun? I think that's a good question to ask.
Yeah, where did he get his hands on that?
Yeah, where did he get the gun? Now, what I believe is that he probably hangs around the neighborhood with ne'er-do-wells, and you know, some of them have guns, and they like to take pictures of themselves and video of themselves brandishing their guns. So, you know, very much what would you say, celebrating, you know, I'm not going to say gun culture, but gang culture, which is what I would bet that's like where he got it. Like he knows a guy who, you know, let him borrow one or something, because I don't think he bought it. And of course his father isn't around. The mom, I saw an interview with her on the news, and she claims that, you know, like the school needs to do more, of course, because she's a woman, and women shouldn't have to do more. And you know, it's really sad because that kid's life is basically over. Like, I mean, he's just doomed, and that's something that, you know, we really got to stop ignoring. I'll just put it that way. So those are my final thoughts on this. It's very tragic. Should never have happened. But unfortunately it does. So, and it's basically because we don't hold women accountable. That's all it is, because the boy did what he did, and he's going to pay the price for that in some way, but the mother made him. Well, by the way, did you guys remember that in the article, another thing that he did was he was like chasing kids around with a belt that he, you know, took off and started using as a weapon? Where do you think he
Yeah,
learned
where did
that?
he learn to do that?
Yeah, where do you think he learned that? His
All we
mother
need-
probably beats him.
All we need is sensible belt control, people.
There we go.
Yeah. So, anyway. I think that if there's nothing else, I'm just going to close it out. So, is that good? Okay. So, I want to thank you guys for coming on today's show. Sorry about the technical issues. I hope that most of what we wanted to say, most of our message got out. I know it did. I know that. So, you know, let us know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in the comments. And yeah, I guess let me just quickly say, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications so you know when our shows go live, and leave us a comment. And lastly, share this video, because sharing is caring, and you know, we need some caring. We all could use some right now. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we'll talk to you all in the next video. And for those of you who are going to be joining us in the after show, remember, we're looking at wife devastated after her husband refuses to forgive her for farting in front of him once after 9 years together. So, you know, it'll be a gas. All right, thanks guys for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.